Hey, what's going on, everybody? You're listening to SANE Show about nothing and everything. I'm your host, Cliff, and today I have another special guest. She's been on the show before, and it's been quite some time. Good friend of mine, Broadway, television, and film actress. She's been featured in Cruel Summer, Homeland, Tony-nominated play The Crucible on Broadway, and many other productions. Ashlei Sharpe Chestnut. How are you doing,
Hey,
Ashlei?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. I'm so glad to have you back on the show. This is long overdue.
A couple years, absolutely.
Yes. And I know a lot of things have happened for both you and myself over those last few years. So I'm excited to have you back on to talk about the things that we're going to talk about and, get to also learn about some of the things that you have going on as well.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So really quick, before I introduce the topics, I want to take a moment to shout out all the listeners in all 60 plus countries. Thank you guys. I love you guys. Thank you guys for continuing to like, share, subscribe, and spread the word about SANE Show. And thank you guys who are following us on social media as well. And if you're listening and you don't already follow us, be sure to check us out on Instagram and Twitter at SANE_show. That's SANE, SANE_show. And then you can find us on Facebook. That's SANE Show. Again, on Facebook, that's SANE Show. So today we're going to have a conversation about from the stage to television. And then following that, we're going to talk about Black creatives paving the way. And then we're going to have our interview with Ashlei. So for those of you that aren't familiar with her, you get to learn about who she is and the things that she does. And then for those of you that are familiar with her, we get to catch up with her and see what she has going on since she's last been on SANE Show. So let's go ahead and hop right into it with our first topic, from the stage to television.
Let's do it.
So you've made the transition from the stage, having been in The Crucible on Broadway, and
But also,
now landing more roles on television productions. And having done it, I'm curious to hear from your perspective the difference between the two. And obviously, there's those obvious differences, right? When we talk about Broadway and television, cameras and things of that nature. But, the actual environment itself, again, you being an actress and having done both and, the behind the scenes and all of that kind of stuff, really, really want to hear from you as far as the difference, again, from the stage to television.
yeah, sure. I think from the stage perspective, you have a different audience every night, right? You have hundreds of people in the audience who will never be in the same room ever again, and you're feeding off of this, well, their energy. And I think that really gives you a different performance each night. With television, I mean, you kind of have an audience with the crew, but you definitely have a more takes to do in a single day. But at the same time, you have those mini takes, but once you move on, like the next day, you can't really go back and retake and refilm those things. Versus with Broadway or stage or any theater, you kind of have a new night every night to do something different, or to really feed off of the audience again, a new audience.
That's really interesting when you talk about Broadway and the theater side of it. It makes me think about touring
Mm-hmm.
with live music.
Oh, yeah.
And I think about, like, for example, Beyonce, right? Goes on tour
Oh,
and
love
she
Beyonce.
pretty much has the same thing that she's going to do, right? Or at least the plan, right? We're going
Mm-hmm.
to perform these songs. We have these dances coordinated and everything. But you sometimes hear, like, from city to city, one show may have been better than the other for
Well, I'm
whatever
going to
reason.
say,
Go ahead.
with Beyonce, having seen her live several times, I'm going to say that one show was better than the other. But I will say, like, her costumes may change, her hair
Right.
may change. But yeah, she's giving her all 100% of the time, honey.
Right. So I just think about that though when you talk about doing the same play as far as
Mm,
Broadway, right? One night being like it's not exactly the same, basically,
yeah.
and so that's interesting. So would you go to say that because I would think that each has their own challenges, and if that is the case, what are those?
Oh, burnout. I mean, I think with Broadway specifically, you're doing 8 shows a week. So you have
Mm,
2 shows on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and your day off is on Mondays. So you, and when you're doing the same play or the same musical, or like you said, even with music, you're doing that almost every day for months on end. You have to find new ways to keep you excited and to keep your energy up so that the audience that you're performing in front of, who's never seen what you're doing, so they can still be excited. But I think, a challenge here is burnout and not getting sick of what you're doing.
Would you go to say that on the television side of it, does it make a big difference not having an audience?
Um, I think, well, okay. I mean, again, with what your crew kind of is your audience, but
Hmm.
sometimes they're not as interactive as a paying audience is. So like, you're not really getting as many laughs as you possibly would. Whether people like for TV, people like are at home watching your things and they're cracking up, but like you can't hear it because you've already filmed it months in advance. But like, I don't want to say because they crew and the director, like they're still participants watching on, but it is different with stage. There is a level of familiarity that you're like the bond that you're creating with the paying audience members.
Hmm. I get the sense that when we talk about television, then it makes the role of the director that much more critical
In what way?
because, especially when you start talking about multiple takes. And I know before on the show, I've had a conversation with somebody about directors, right? What makes a good director, or what are some qualities of a good director? I think it was a conversation that we had, and even just doing my research on directors, like just how I guess like their whole thing, bringing life to what's on the script when it's being put on the screen, and just thinking about that conversation I had with that guest, and now, fast forward having this conversation that we're now having, I get the feeling almost like as if I don't want to say the director is the audience, but I guess with some directors who are very good at what they do as far as executing, that is a very critical role because you don't have an audience there
Hmm.
to to react or in real time to the work that you're putting on display. So, not just I don't want to put it all on a director, but everybody else as well. Like that's why it's like super. I guess like again, super critical when we talk about television. What are your thoughts around that?
No, I agree. I think the director has a huge job. I think at the end of the day, after you filmed, I don't know how many scenes, and the director is in the booth editing it, they are kind of the mastermind at the end of the day who puts all of these different departments on set into one film or TV show, an episode, whatever, what have you. But I think their vision really creates this space for us actors to give a certain performance that kind of ties in the end that's kind of cohesive to everything, if that makes sense.
How would you describe your experience as far as working with a director on set? Like just in
Um,
general, like what is it like?
mhm. I think it's different for each person, but I
Hmm.
think, or not each person, but each, well, yeah, no, each different director and each set, because it also depends on the genre, right? I mean, if you're doing a drama, well, no, because I think at the end of the day, the director, I actually want to talk about his personal experience. So I just finished, so the national parks, I'm all over the place. So Anthony Hemingway, I just finished working with him on National Parks, a pilot we did for ABC. And he was so awesome. Like he's really an actor's director, an advocate for actors, even behind the scenes, working with like different departments and being able to fully communicate with the actors. I think communication is a big thing on set. So when directors are able to communicate their thoughts clearly, concisely, to the point where it's easier to give a performance. I think that's when you kind of score big with directing and directors.
I think of it like a coach almost.
Actually, yeah, because
Because
yeah,
they have to
yeah,
lead, right?
yeah.
And this really, so I just for the first time, I've seen the movie, so for Entourage, but I'm now finally watching the series.
Oh, the HBO
And
show,
yeah, and so I'm just watching the show and just kind of, I mean, obviously it's loosely based on,
Hollywood.
right, the reality of Hollywood, but it's still cool because you still get some of that insight. And so that's, especially like seeing, some of the, because of the main character, Vincent Chase's work as an actor, and his relationship with the different directors and things like that is really cool to see that and really see what a director does. This is more than just saying action and cut.
Yeah, there's a lot more in between.
Right. But that's what we know and see most of the time.
Yeah, or like or like constant yelling or that thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, we're back. So now we're going to have a conversation about Black creatives paving the way. And Black creatives in Hollywood have really been killing it lately and creating opportunities and opening all kinds of doors. And for me, it's really been inspiring. A person like myself who wants to get on that side of the business as far as television and film, and people like Kenya Barris and Kevin Hart, and heck, even Tyler Perry and Oprah, who've been doing their thing. And even I want to throw LeBron James in there. I know he's an athlete. He just did Space Jam 2, but he's also putting himself in the game, I guess I would go to say. And these things make me even more hopeful for the future of not just Black people, but all minorities, really. People wanting to or seeking those opportunities in the business. And, for me personally, Kenya Bears really inspired me because I want to do exactly what he did, being able to get a deal of like a Netflix or an HBO, not HBO Max, but BET Plus, who he just left Netflix for, to do some really big things there. And I don't want to just shout out the big people who we all are hearing about and reading about in Hollywood Reporter and Variety, but all the people that we don't hear about, because I know some producers who are doing some really awesome things and producing some really dope productions and creating opportunities for those in their immediate community. So, shout out to all of those people, because so it's really exciting though to see what the Black creators are really doing in Hollywood. And I think you and I had a conversation about this when we last spoke, and to see like what's happening, even heck, Jordan Peele, uh, the list goes on. The list goes on, and you're an actress. You're in the business. How does it feel for you?
I'm excited. I mean, I know I've said that before, but I think in the past 2 years, like since we've last had the conversation about it on here, I mean, mic drop. Okay, so I'm about to like give some new news, but like with Issa Rae, for example, who's my new boss. Dun dun dun. So I just booked her new show, and I'll be on that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So for the audience members, Clifford did not know this. I'm now sharing this. So the new show that we're working on, I fly out for next week, and just knowing that Issa's like, she's my new boss, and the things that she's oh gosh, I'm stuttering. Things that she's created thus far, and what she's continuing to do, even outside of television, like she has like new music endeavors and like her producing of other things as well. I think with her career just continuing to blossom, as well as like Michaela Cole, with her show, shows plural, like I May Destroy You, and then Chewing Gum was years ago as well. I'm just so thrilled. And the fact that they are Black women paving a way. I mean, they're paving a way for me to be here. I mean, I stand on not only their shoulders, but every woman who's come before them as well. I just feel like this new wave of representation is really great.
It really is. Can we go off script for a second? I just
What's
want to talk about how good she looked in her wedding photos.
Oh my God, this doesn't have to go off script. Are you kidding me? The people need to know. Issa Rae is fine, okay? Stunning.
Yeah, she has one of the most beautiful smiles I've ever seen. Like I'm just like,
Exactly.
wow.
Keep this in here. You better not edit this out. Issa Rae,
No,
stunning.
no, it's going to stay on here. And two, while we're talking about it, I kind of had a guess that this that she was the person, but I wasn't too sure myself, so I didn't I didn't take a stab at it when we talked about this leading up to the recording. But
Yeah. Yeah,
That is too funny. What a coincidence. Go with your gut, right?
yep, for sure.
Uh, but yes, it's an exciting. It's a really exciting time. Even like, okay, don't judge me, but I just signed up for HBO Max like 2 months ago,
Oh, nice.
so I'm finally getting a chance to watch Lovecraft Country.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so and I'm hoping HBO finds it in their heart to reverse the decision to not have a season two for the show, but that's another conversation. Uh,
Yeah.
but like you said, right, this is a really exciting time, really, really exciting time, and a lot for everybody to look forward to. I mean, heck, because that's what ultimately I would like to be able to do. I would, in doing everything that I do, I want to get in a position to help the next person,
Mhm.
do something and inspire other people, and show that yes, we can put out awesome content. I mean, we've been doing that, but to be in the director chair, to be the producers, right, to start the networks and build the studios and things of that
Decision
nature.
makers. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's so cool. It's a Ray. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, I just
I'm hoping we'll learn more about that in the interview, right?
oh yeah, you will, for sure.
But yes, again, that just all of that just speaks to what's happening in the industry and all of the awesome, awesome Black creators, those that we're very familiar with and those that we don't know about. And I'm even also thinking about the people on Instagram or all the social sites, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, the people that are making waves
Hmm.
and really utilizing those platforms. I really have to give kudos to them because they're really taking and doing their thing, right? And I
Yeah.
don't want to say like they're anti Hollywood or anything, but the fact that they're in a sense operating outside of the industry in a
Hmm.
sense, and using the social platforms to create their own opportunities and produce their own content and build their own following and have massive success is really great to see. I don't know if you're familiar with like Country Wayne,
Uh-uh.
somebody I've been following for the last few years, and just to watch him grow. I first noticed him on like Facebook, and to see him, getting
Oh, I
big on
just Googled him.
Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
just took off. What's
Oh,
another one?
wow.
Mark Phillip, RDC World. They do the anime videos, and he does like the LeBron James impersonations. And I know LeBron just had him at the Space Jam 2 premiere. Like, just
Yeah.
awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. And it makes me happy too that these people are getting the recognition that they deserve because they are two creatives. And though they've gone against the grain a little bit, people like what they're doing,
Yeah.
and that's something that we cannot deny. So as they say, right, get it however you can.
Get it how you get it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, in the industry itself, I'm me doing what I do. Obviously, I'm always looking around and seeing what's going on and who's signing with who and all that kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
I mean, these big Hollywood agencies like CAA and ICM Endeavor and all of them are taking notice and are signing these creatives because they know that there's something there.
Hmm.
So those people who aren't in the industry don't really know what's going. They don't really pay attention to the agencies, and I mean they don't really have any reason to anyway. But those of us who are in the business, we see what's going on. It's like, yeah, we see, we see.
Yeah.
Take note. So yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Now for the interview. So again, this is going to be for you listeners who aren't familiar with Ashlei, time to learn about what she has going on and everything that she does. And then for the listeners who heard her previously on SANE Show, there's going to be a time for you guys to catch up with her and see what she has going on new now that she's back on the show. So Ashlei, I'm going to go ahead and fire off with this first question. The past 6 years have had a nice snowball effect on your career with opportunities increasing in both number and quality. Have these opportunities been linked or are they the result of general career inertia?
I'd say it's a mixture of both. I think in the grand scheme of, the universe, everything is connected. But when it comes to people, I'll say behind the scenes, like, for example, in casting, like for casting directors, you kind of build a rapport with them. Well, I'll talk pre-COVID. Like when you go into their office and audition, they see you, I don't know how many times. Just naturally, you create a relationship with these people. And when you finally book with them, they kind of become your go-tos and your advocate to the directors, producers, or whoever that you're auditioning for. But I think at the same time, not every single job is connected. Like it's not like I meet one person on one job and that's how I get my next one. But I think at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. As many auditions as as many no's as I've heard, there's always going to be that yes. So I say that career inertia kind of falls in line with like the probability of booking something with numbers, like a numbers game.
I agree. Your career now includes both representation and a publicist. Was there anything about the process that was jarring or surprising to you as you entered into it? What's a common misconception people have about finding and having representation?
Okay, so mine, okay, I say this, not every actor, I know I'll speak for actors. Not every actor's journey is the same. So the way I got my current agent isn't the same way that somebody else is going to get theirs. So when I first booked the Crucible on Broadway, I was with a boutique agency and they decided to close down while I was doing the show and just go into management. But at the time I didn't need a manager, and so I parted ways with them. So what I did was like I had a list of like these big agencies that I wanted to meet with. And I just sent off an email to them and I said, hey, my reps actually just went into management, not looking for a manager right now. Would you be interested in coming to see the show and then go for a meeting or whatever? And so that's how I got my current agent, was sending off an email. But I know that's not always the case for people. Like, because at the end of the day, like you hear from these agencies, don't email us, don't do drop-offs or whatever. But I always encourage people to aim high for the representation that you do want, because you never know. Like I have like this abundance attitude. So I feel like, the world, the universe, God, what have you, is going to try to work in your favor. But I do know that some of these big agencies, like you've listed, like ICM, CAA, like these big people, a lot of them, they reach out to you, like you don't reach out to them. I didn't know that coming into this. I was just like, well, why can't I have them? And then someone sat
Right.
me down and said, Ashley, well, honey, you have, they sat me down and told me what was up. But like you said, with some of these TikTok stars and stuff like that, like these big agencies reached out to those people and asked,
Hmm.
them like to represent those people. But again, I always tell people, like, reach out, because you never know, because some of these new agents, like people who start in like the mailroom, and they, when they progress and become new agents, they're looking for new clients and they're looking to build their roster, with new talent and people that they do want to work with, at least for a longer time.
Right. That's true. It's very true. You've worked in both film and TV and Broadway at the same time when calls for representation have never been higher. As an actress, where have you seen the most positive strides and where are areas these industries can continue to improve?
Mm, okay, well, fun fact, all of the new plays on Broadway this coming season are from Black artists, which is very new. That's never been done before. So I think for theater, that's fantastic. It's definitely a start from. I mean, I remember like last year, there was like a thing on, well, not just on Instagram, but they kind of called out not only just Broadway, but like theater in general, about the lack of representation. So the fact that that's even happening a year later, I think, with Broadway picking back up and theater in general, I think that's exciting. But as an actor, I think with television and film, I can continue to add theater in here as well. I think we're definitely starting to see more positive change, But at the same time, when you kind of look at the numbers and not just the faces, I think the true diversity, and not just, I'm not talking about just ethnically, but like all around, is still kind of lacking. There are a lot of firsts still happening, which is fine. But I think in 2021, almost at 2022, still having firsts of a specific ethnic background or sexual orientation or other marginalized people, I think it's still kind of sad. But I'm optimistic. I think we're heading in the right direction, even with television behind the scenes and in front of the camera.
So, in our discussion before the show, where you forgot to mention Issa Rae, you
Oops.
just messing. You talked about a desire to expand your endeavors beyond acting. What
Mhm.
artistically draws you towards that expansion? And in what ways do you see a lack of formal training in writing and filmmaking as a benefit to your pursuits?
Yeah, so I'd say for writing, I'm just into like creating more roles for not only myself but like for other people. I mean, you've kind of talked about that earlier, like you wanting to just do something for yourself, but like help other
Hmm.
people as well. I think with writing too, like I've always had these scenes in my head, and when I finally put them on paper or like when I started typing them out and just seeing the worlds that I'm creating, it's just so much fun. And just knowing the fact that these will actually go into production and come to fruition, it's mind-boggling. And I think so I'm also interested in like dabbling in music, and I like my taste has always been eclectic. I'm really excited to continue to find my voice, and like I've been taking vocal lessons and trying to sharpen my instrument so when I do return to Broadway, I can collect my Tony. When I release my like an EP, I can collect my Grammy, But again, creating space, because we're like the arts, we're all connected in some capacity. So I'm just really excited to find what else makes me happy outside of acting. And I mean, I think that's what life is. You explore different things and avenues and find what brings you joy. But you said without formal training in writing.
Yeah, how does it benefit your pursuits?
So I didn't go to school for writing per se, but I think for going like getting my formal training in acting, I think it kind of goes hand in hand, because when I do get a script, being a writer myself, I feel like I have an extra level of consciousness when I'm dissecting a script. But there's so many famous writers and directors that never went to school. Like it's fascinating to figure out, or when you find out like these people didn't even go to school. They just decided to write, or they started out being like PAs on set, and somebody just said, "Hey, here's some money, go make something," or "Hey, would you like to be an AD, an assistant director on this show?" And then that's kind of how they start. I think that's fascinating. But I think too, with our generation, we're kind of, and the generations to follow, we're kind of fortunate because we literally have access to anything online. So you can find the curriculum of what these, I don't want to call them cult schools, but like, these big following schools who have like huge alumni networks. Like you can find out what they're reading and find that online for yourself and read the books and or watch how-to videos on YouTube. And like that's access that previous generations didn't really have. And I think that's why we're seeing an influx of people, not only these new social media influencers, but you see so many cool things online. And these people didn't even go to schools, and they're getting their big breaks from these outlets. I think filmmaking as a whole too, it's very inclusive. But like we all have phones now. Like everybody has a phone with video options. And you like literally an Oscar nominated, I think, what was it? The Florida Project, Oscar nominated, or did they win? I think they won an Oscar or they were nominated, was shot on an iPhone. Like there's so many opportunities just to create. So I don't think everyone needs formal training. I think it's great when you want like alumni networks and just networking in general, but you don't need it.
And my last question to you, people think acting as a career that died during quarantine and much of the pandemic. What was the reality for you as an actress during COVID?
Man, please. I don't know who those people were because everyone I knew was watching TV and movies at home or was still on set working throughout the pandemic. Like
Yeah.
I was working last year on Cruel Summer. But I can say that there's definitely been a shift in auditioning. Like since we can't really or couldn't go into the audition room, everything had to be sent via self-tape. So that includes like literally every audition, callback, test. I had the you know what's fun fact? I had the most callbacks and test screen tests this past year alone than I'd say in my career thus far, like in a single year. That were all via Zoom. And I don't know if that's just again like the inertia, the that we talked about earlier, or
Hmm.
because like I just don't know. I think it's positive. Like there are positives to the industry as a result. I mean, for me, I'm gonna sound like a loner, and I don't mean to come off this way, but like I like eating alone in my trailer, like for lunch. Like I like the alone time that I've been able to have. Usually on set for lunchtime, you'd go out and they'd have like catering, and you go get your food, and then you just sit at these random tables. But having the food just come to you, and you can just chill in your trailer, I've really enjoyed that. And I mean, even going back to, the audition process, I'd say another positive is, well, I still prefer auditioning in the room, but I think it's been really nice to do a lot of takes for these self tapes and then choosing the best one that I'd like to send off. And and since like last year, I was home with my mom during the majority of the pandemic. Well, I guess we're still in the pandemic, but like I was at home, and so she would help be my reader. And the last three things that I've booked, she was my reader for it. So it's actually been a fun process to like bond with her while doing that too. So I mean it also, I guess, kind of gives a hand, or I can understand like where I get some of my acting juice from her.
Well, that is awesome. That's really awesome. Thank you, Ashley, for coming back on SANE Show.
Oh, thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. I'm so excited. We were able to make this happen once again.
For
Uh,
sure.
the door is always open for you. So we'll definitely have to have you back on in the future.
Love it.
And thank you again. Thank you, listeners. Be sure to check out Ashley. You can look her up on IMDb if you want to. uh, so she's not hard to find.
Yeah.
um, so check her out, check out her work. And thank you guys for continuing to like, share, subscribe, and listen to SANE Show. Remember, you are listening to SANE Show about nothing and everything. And until next time, we're out.